food thrown out, like there were like frozen turkeys thrown out on the ground. And this one was actually really creepy because there was no electricity. It's kind of like twilight, kind of dark. We're inspecting it, doing like an estimate, and like this frozen turkey is like gnawed on, like something was eating it. And we're like, oh my gosh, like what is up? And these cats were like eating the food that they left behind. It was terrible, really scary.
I'm completely blown away that your business did not fail. So many stories you're telling to where I see people starting and like, for example, you didn't have any clients one day. And so what most people do is they sit on their phone, they sit at home, they go, well, I guess I don't have to work today. And their business is failing. It's literally failing right in front of them because they don't have any clients on the schedule. And you went out and you just drove the truck around, you parked the truck, you hung flyers on the door, you knocked on doors. I mean, that's just, there's so many ways you can go out and get the name out there, right? Brian, you started a business that generated $1.5 million in 1 year, and you used zero capital to start this. Is that correct?
Yeah, we had no money available. We had a lot of hope, and we had a lot of dreams, and we thought we were invincible, so we went for it. But yeah, we had no cash laying around.
So break this down. How did you start a business that generated that much money with no cash hanging around?
Yeah. So originally, so when we launched the business, we were planning on getting an SBA loan. We thought, okay, that's going to work. We're getting SBA loan. My credit's good. We had to pay for, well, a few things we had to do at startup: franchise fee, first lease payments on the truck. You know, we just needed a little bit we didn't need a ton of money, but it fell through. The loan was not approved.
Oh.
But we had already signed the agreement.
Okay.
We already had all these obligations. So what do we do? The easiest money available is we start using credit cards.
Okay.
Very risky.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would do that again, but that's what we had to do to survive.
Yeah. And so what is this business that you started that ended up essentially changing your life?
Yeah, so it was a junk removal service. It was a 1-800-GOT-JUNK franchise.
Okay. Gotcha. And how did you hear about that opportunity?
Yeah, so this is interesting. We were living in South Florida at the time. I was not planning on being an entrepreneur at all. I was in the corporate world. I went to grad school. I had my MBA. I was working in the corporate world for about 5 years at the time. And my wife, she was 26. She was playing college volleyball. When we got married, being a mom and being married kind of got in the way of that. She stopped playing. It just happened, but she missed it. She always kind of wished she had kept playing. Well, right where we were living in South Florida, the defending Division II national champion women's volleyball team was right there.
Oh, wow.
So I told her, I'm like, hey, why don't you go call the coach and like see if you can walk on. Anyway, to make a long story short, she made the team. She became a starting outside hitter at 26 with 2 kids.
Wow.
And here we are. I talked to my boss before. I'm like, hey, my wife has this opportunity. Can I have a flexible schedule? Can I come in earlier and leave earlier so I can watch the kids when she goes to practice, goes to class? And he was like, oh, yeah, that sounds great. 2 weeks into it, my boss is like, I don't like this. I need you here. You know, this isn't going to work out. And I'm like, I just committed to my wife to do this. Like, she's enrolled. Yeah, she's going to do this. So what happened? So I'm looking for jobs that are flexible. There weren't that many jobs that were. I think TSA was the only job that had the hours that would work, but didn't pay enough. And the building where we had our office had a subscription to Fortune magazine at the time. This is 2002.
Okay.
And I would flip through it. You know, I mean, I was not rich by any means at the time. You know, we were growing and stuff, doing well. But there was a little article about that big about 1-800-GOT-JUNK as a franchise. And I read this article, and they're talking about guerrilla marketing, how they recycled, how they try to keep stuff out of landfill. It just resonated with me. I was like, oh, that sounds like it could work. That sounds like a business that could make money. I mean, it's crazy enough to work, right? I'll give you an example. Like, my wife used to say, hey, why don't we start a business making jam and jellies? And I'm like, okay. I'm like, we don't have an orchard, you know, but it was an awesome idea. But but in my mind, I'm thinking, there's no different. How do we make money doing that, you know? Whereas junk hauling, I'm like, that's that concept doesn't exist. Like that's this new thing. Um, and I just got excited. I filled out a form. Next thing I know it, they're offering me a franchise.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, well, if I'm my own boss, then I have all the flexibility I need. Then I can support my wife playing volleyball, going to college, watch the kids. I can make it work with
Yeah.
this. So we were like accidental entrepreneurs. We weren't planning on ever doing that. And then, but yeah, so then that's when the whole adventure started. We decided, we had already committed to it. The loan was kind of in process. Maybe we should have gotten the loan first before signing all the agreements and stuff, but at this point we were all in. So we were like, we're going to find a way to make it work. So we had to do like some financial magic to make it work.
Yeah.
And we found capital in other locations too, which was huge.
Okay.
But at first it was just credit cards.
Yeah. And so let's walk through your mindset a little bit about going from having a steady job to starting something with credit cards. So you're already starting in debt, and then you're starting this business that's a franchise that you don't know if it's going to work, but it may have a good track record. And so how do you make that leap? I think those who want to leave their 9-to-5 jobs and go and be a business owner, that's one of the hardest things that they go through.
Yeah.
And so walk us through, I mean, it almost sounds like it was a necessity. You're like, your boss wasn't going to allow you to be flexible. You wanted your wife to fulfill this dream, and so you kind of had to. But what were some other mindset tricks that you did in order to make that leap?
Yeah, I mean, you have to believe in yourself and you have to have hope. But I would say it was interesting because it started out as a necessity. But on the day that we were packing up the U-Haul to move back to Salt Lake to start this business, I got a call from another company that was like a great company. So I worked in heavy equipment business. So I was working for Bobcat, John Deere, later Caterpillar. But this was a call from Ingersoll Rand, and they were like, "Hey, we want you to work here in Miami in our Latin American office." It was like my dream job. So we're literally finishing loading up the U-Haul, and I get this call with a job offer. And at that point, I was like, "Holy cow! I have this. I can just say, you know what? Never mind. We're gonna stay in corporate, or we're gonna do this." And I think, maybe a sense of adventure too. Like this was the unknown. It was like, but you have to have faith. You have to have hope, and it helps to have support.
Yeah.
My wife was very supportive. She believed in me. I wouldn't say very many people were, though. We had a lot of naysayers in the family. A lot of people like, "Oh, junk hauling, that's never going to work. People are going to pay you to haul their junk away. Who's going to do that?" And so a lot of you have to believe in yourself, and you have to be a little bit, man, I wouldn't say cocky, but you got to be confident in yourself, and you got to take a risk.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to get to the point where you're willing to take a risk on yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Well said. What do you do when people are because those people who are naysayers, right? We all have them. We call them haters, naysayers, people that don't believe in you. And some of them are close family members, close friends, people that you've trusted in life for a while. What do you do when people say things like that to you?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta have a little bit of thick skin. I mean, I'm pretty easygoing. Like we were never like confrontational. Like, "Hey, screw you, this isn't gonna work,"
Yeah.
I just took it and kind of banked it. And I played sports in college. I played football, back in the day, and I think and a lot of famous athletes have done that. They find a way to almost put a chip on their shoulder to fuel your effort. So I mean, it totally. I mean, I don't know. It's disappointing at first, but then you gotta get over it.
Yeah.
But then take that and use that, remember it, and then maybe give a little more effort each day, and help drive you to succeed.
Yeah, there's a quote that I heard a while ago, and I'll see if I can remember it off the top of my head, but it says something along the lines of, "The best form of revenge is success."
Yeah.
And I'm not a revengeful person, you know what I mean? Like when haters are talking about that stuff, but there is some type of empowering feeling that all those people that said that you couldn't do it, when it's successful and you are doing it, it's kind of wonderful.
For
you know,
sure.
and you're just like, I mean, it's not like a thing like like my 3-year-old does, you know what I mean? But it is one of those things where you're like, I did it, you know what I mean? And
No, for sure.
and it's because I did have confidence in myself. So that was, that was wonderful, awesome.
And it's way more mature too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and it's something that's long lasting, you know. But yeah, totally, I totally felt that.
Yeah, and making the mental shift is one thing, but how did you have enough confidence in yourself to make the financial shift?
Yeah. So I mean, it all goes together. You have to you when you take a risk, man, you're risking everything, right? Like we had a home in South Florida. We left it. We rented an apartment in my sister-in-law's basement
Mm.
to start. Um, yeah. I mean, you. I mentioned like financial magic earlier. Like we were getting to the point where we were desperate for we needed cash. Like
Hmm.
when you're launching a business, especially like when 1-800 got junk back in 2002, nobody knew what it was.
Mm.
You're building a brand from zero. You know, people are seeing the trucks go by and they're like, "What do you guys do? Do you buy my junk?" Like they had no idea. We had to educate people every time we came in contact with people.
Yeah.
And 10 years later, 15 years later, people still didn't know what we did. So it was so we spent so much money on marketing and educating the market that it was expensive.
Yeah.
You know, like it cash was just flowing out. And it was tough enough. Like we would get credit card offers and we would fill them out and like, yeah, we need that $5,000 limit or whatever. My wife actually went back to school and so that we could get financial aid,
Mm.
and we got student loans that we didn't need to pay for school, but we got student loans and we used that to help finance the business too.
Yeah.
I don't know that Uncle Sam would like that, but we were looking for any way to find capital. The other place we found money that was huge was the Utah Microenterprise Loan Fund.
Mm.
It's a microcredit institution here in Utah, and they would give out loans. I mean, it's more now, but back then I think the highest you could get was $25,000.
Mhm.
That was huge. That was a lifeline for us, and kept us going. You
Yeah.
know? What was interesting is there was a little bit of a safety net. 1-800 Got Junk told every franchisee, they said, if you don't hit $100,000 in gross revenue your first year, you can return the franchise and we'll refund your franchise fee.
Wow, that's cool.
So what was interesting is at the end of our first year, our gross revenue was $77,000.
Uh-oh.
So my wife comes to me, she's like, "Well, what do you think? We tried it, you know, should we let it go and get a job again?"
Yeah.
And it was weird because at the end of I would say at the end of 2 years. So anyway, that's obviously we did not return it. We kept it. But
Right.
we just, again, at that point I was feeling like we got to keep trying. And I think there's got to be a level of grit. You know, you got to have this attitude that you're not going to give up,
Right.
and you're going to fight. When I played football in college, I was a walk-on. So, and I became a starter later. But you have to have this mentality. You're not going to give up. I mean, you're not getting any looks. You're on the scout team. You're a punching bag every day like Rudy. You know.
Yeah.
But you have this dream and you don't give up on it. And that's how I felt at the end of that year. I'm like, you know what? I think it's gonna work. Let's
Yeah.
keep trying. Year 2, we tripled revenue. Year 2, $238,000.
Wow.
Year 3, we did almost $500,000. Year 4, we did almost $800,000. So it started growing exponentially.
Yeah.
Then of course the recession happened, and that's another story. But at the end of year 2, so we stuck with it. But then at the end of year 2, just to go back on the financial side, at one point we had $100,000 in unsecured debt.
Mm.
You know, student loans and the credit cards all combined. And it was scary,
Mhm.
really scary the first few years.
Yeah. One of the things I want to backtrack on just a little bit is what you said about having grit and not giving up on your dreams. I think
Mhm.
that's something that so many people, they have this wonderful idea and they're going for it. And then in the first 6 months, things aren't working out the way that they planned them to work out. And guess what? In business, it's never going to work out the way that you planned it.
Right.
You can graph out the most beautiful business plan ever, and it's not going to go as planned, right? And that's where a lot of people go, you know what? I don't know if this is for me, right? I don't know if I should keep doing this. But the people that win every time are the ones that go, no matter what, I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to get past these roadblocks, and I'm going to win.
Oh yeah. I mean, you may have to pivot. You may have to look into other things. Like I'll give you an example. When the recession happened, I always knew that there was an opportunity on the side to to resell stuff that were still in good condition, like have a thrift store.
Mm-hmm.
So we rented a warehouse on the west side of Salt Lake, and I told my drivers, okay, because let me back up. What we would do is we would keep stuff out of the landfill at all costs, because every time we took something to the landfill, we had to pay the dump fees.
Oh,
So we're donating to every charity we can think of: Salvation Army, Desert Industries,
smart.
Big Brother, Big Sister. We did some events. Uh, Boys and Girls Club. We did a food drive for them. Anyway, anything we could do to like offload junk that was still in good condition, we want to keep it out of the landfill, just to be good citizens, but also as good business, right?
Yeah.
So at one point in the recession, I'm like, you know what? I think we can make some extra income reselling stuff. A nice couch, whatever, a toy or something that's still in good condition, we can resell it. So we did. We actually spent money during the recession to rent this warehouse, and we started bringing in cash that way. Looking back, we survived the recession because of that. You have to be creative. You have to have this attitude that you're gonna do whatever it takes, but you gotta also explore other options, and see, well, maybe I need to pivot. Maybe I need to market to this other, or maybe I need to do some more commercial sales.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to, hit the streets and talk to some people. But just doing the same thing over and over, or being paralyzed, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
So you got to hustle.
Some of the best businesses that I love are the ones that, and this is the analogy that I always use. If you have a business like, let's say, 1-800.junk, right? That is the tree, right? It's the big tree trunk. And then out of 1-800.junk, you can have branches, right? And these are other little things that you can use to make money to help the tree stay alive, right? And so one of the branches was charity, giving back to charity, helping the community, also tax write-offs, and you're making more money because you're not giving to the dump, right? The other branch that came off of that was you starting the thrift store, right? That's genius. One of the ways that you can make more money in anything that you do is you have to have that initial tree trunk, and then you have to have those branches that come off.
Oh yeah, recycling. We would recycle metal.
Another
We
branch.
would get a ton of money from that too. We had people that would ask us, "Hey, I don't have any junk to haul, but I have this really big filing cabinet or desk. I need it moved. Can you guys move it?" We're like, "Heck yeah, we'll move it." You know, and so yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's awesome. Those are the best businesses, because you don't just have one stream of income. You just start having a bunch of stream of incomes, right? How long was it before you actually turned a profit?
Yeah, so we were really aggressive in marketing and advertising. It was we were profitable. We were profitable in year 2, year 3, but we just reinvested almost everything. So, I mean, talking about hustle, when I was in college, I was actually a package handler for UPS. I worked at the Salt Lake Hub, and I was a loader. I would load trailers, and then I became a sorter, and I would sort packages, kind of like what we see all the time. And then when I launched the business, was several years later, I actually went back to UPS and got a part-time job working at the airport hub, loading pods and loading and unloading airplane pods. And was the money great? Not really. It was probably, I don't know, $12 an hour. I don't know what it was, but at the time. But it gave benefits to part-time employees, so that gave me health insurance. Anyway, and that was at night. I would do that at night. I would do the business all day, then I would do that at night. So, yeah, I mean, it was tough the first few years, but you do what you gotta do. But it was 2 or 3 years. But yeah, and part of that was we were really aggressive in trying to grow it. We were really reinvesting and spending a lot on advertising, trying to get the word out.
Yeah, I want to touch on what you were saying about you were working the business during the day, and then you were working a part-time job at night. There's so many people who want to be successful, but they can't even get out of bed at 6 a.m. in the morning. There's so many people who want to be successful, but they want their Friday, Saturday, Sunday completely free so they can just be on their phones or watch TV or play video games. If you want to be successful when you start out, you have to grind.
Oh, totally.
When I first started out, I had a job working on the ranch. And then I knew I needed some type of cash in order to propel myself to do whatever was in the future for me, right? And so I'd wake up at 4 a.m., I'd go on the ranch, I'd work till about 5 p.m., I'd then drive 20 minutes to Twin Falls, Idaho, where me and my buddy were flipping a house. We'd work on that until 10 p.m. at night. I'd go home, have dinner with my wife, go to bed, wake up, and I did that for 4 months straight.
Oh, yeah.
And that was what gave me my $30,000 fund to do whatever I wanted. And then that ended up turning into a multi-million-dollar business.
That's awesome.
And so you have to be able to grind just like you did. And health insurance is a big deal, especially when you have a family, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
a
yeah.
business isn't going to give you health insurance right off the bat. And so you strategically thinking about that, that's a big deal. So that's awesome.
Well, and that was before Obamacare, right? When you can get subsidies. Back then, health insurance there was no subsidy, there was no cheap health insurance anywhere,
Yeah.
right? It was either coverage or no coverage, you know. But we were like, yeah, it was. I think I love being an entrepreneur so much because of all you learn and all the experiences you have, and you grow so much. Would never trade that. It does. I like to joke around that I think it did age me a little bit.
100% it does.
Because you're working twice as hard as everybody else,
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you get to the point where it works and you're successful, man, then you can really enjoy life.
Yeah. Yep.
Then you're not in the rat race. You
Yeah.
know, then you can do the things you like. So it's a trade-off, but it's one I'm totally I would do again in a heartbeat.
Yep. You gotta go through hell in order to get to heaven.
Yeah.
Especially in business. That saying is so true in business.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the franchise things a little bit. If you were going back in time to do that all over again, would you choose a franchise or would you start a junk business on your own?
Man, that's a good question. So I really loved my relationship with the franchisor, and that's not always the case, right? Like we were lucky. When Internet Got Junk was a great team of people. It was expensive, right? You're paying this franchise fee up front, and you're hoping you're going to get support down the road.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. My wife would say no because she's like, we can save all that money and do it ourselves. The difference with When Internet Got Junk is you weren't just buying the franchise system, you were buying the brand.
Yeah.
And it's silly, right? Because you think, oh, When Internet Got Junk, but that was a killer brand. It's a killer brand, right? Like people are like, it's not like if you start your own junk hauling business, which is you can totally do that, and you can start with not that much money. You can get a pickup truck and rent a trailer and start.
Mm-hmm.
You can start with a pickup truck, even put some plywood wall sides on the side and start. But you don't have you're an army of one, right? With a franchise, you have this whole support system in the place, and I would always compare, like when we drive down the road, we'd ask people, hey, who do you call? Who are you going to call if you have junk to get rid of? Oh, I'd call When Internet Got Junk. Oh, what about Bob's Hauling? Do you remember his number? I don't know his number, right? Back then, you'd grab a Yellow Pages or something, or try and Google them, but that brand was huge because we were top of mind. People were so I would do it again, just because of the experience I had with When Internet Got Junk. I think it helped us grow faster. The exponential growth, I think, was partly because of the brand and the support we had. But I don't know that I would do that every time. I think if you have experience, you have support, you have people mentoring you that can help you build it on your own, I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good answer, because when you're thinking about, should I do a franchise or should I start this business on my own, you need to be realistic with what your skills are, what you know and what you don't know. And sometimes you don't know what you don't know, right? And if you're not an expert in that field, starting a franchise where it's a proven business model already. They already have the systems, they already have the processes in place, and everything is good to go usually, right? If it's a good franchise. And then they have that brand name, and you're paying a good penny for that brand name. But in some markets, especially in 2002, when you started that 1-800.junk, that was huge, right? And it's like, if I think to myself, who am I going to call if I need a plumber, right? I think of all the trucks I see on the road, and the one that stands out to me the most is this trucking company or this plumbing company that has like this family on the back of it, right? And I don't know the name of it, but I know that they have the family on the back of the truck. And so I'm going to type into Google, what's that plumbing company in Utah that has a family on the back of the truck? And then boom, it's going to pop up right away. And so the branding and the marketing and everything that a franchise offers can be very, very valuable. But make no mistake about it, you are paying them quite a bit of money year over year to use their name, to use their brand, to use their processes and systems. And some franchises aren't that great. Some of them aren't going to support you as good as 1-800.junk, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you're paying the franchise fee and then you're paying a royalty.
Yeah.
Right. But with in the case of 1-800.junk, had we not had the franchise, I would have had to build my own website. I would have to have like not a call center, but I'd have to have like someone standing by to answer every phone call, every email. I would have to have a booking system on the website, which now it's easier with Shopify and stuff like that, but back then that wasn't around. Like you had to build it from scratch.
Yeah.
I'd have to design my own uniforms. I'd have to design my own brand. I'd have to source my own truck. I mean, the franchise makes it plug and play, right? You start the process, and then you have steps lined. They have steps. Okay, now you do this. Now you do this, and you can really focus on doing what you're good at. Which in my case was being an operator, and managing and growing the business as opposed to reinventing the wheel.
Creating, all that stuff. Yeah, very good points. If someone out there is wanting to start a junk business themselves, how much money can someone make in this world of junk removal?
Yeah. So I mean, it's going to depend on the person a lot, but you can. I mean, people make enough to live all the time. I mean, you see little mom and pops doing junk hauling all the time. So, I mean, to give you an idea, our average job size was about I'd say it was about $280.
Oh.
So we would go to someone's house, and on average, that's how much we would charge to haul junk away.
Okay.
And if you think about it, our variable costs in a junk hauling business, your variable costs are three things: your labor, your fuel, and your dump fee. That's it.
Okay.
I mean, truck payment, insurance, that's all fixed costs. But when you cover those three, everything else is gross profit.
Yeah.
Everything else goes towards your fixed expenses. So, I mean, in our case, man, if you have great customer service, like that's one thing, right? It's one of my philosophies is happy employees equal happy customers. So we would treat our employees with respect. We would value them. We would pay them as much as we could. But if the customer is happy, I'll give you another number. Our highest form of jobs, our highest source of jobs, by far, was repeat customers. Excuse me, like people that used our service loved it, and they were like, "Oh, I'm telling everybody about you guys." So it was repeat, word of mouth, referrals, and then like way down low was like online advertising, billboards, radio. Like that was all just like extra. And that's funny because that's the stuff that cost us the most.
Yeah.
But the stuff that brought us jobs. So So I was going to tell you too, our net margins when it was all said and done, like we would make 25% net margin on our gross.
Wow.
So it was healthy. I mean, it's a healthy business to be in. The key is going to be getting your name out. Is letting people know you exist.
Yeah.
Doing whatever marketing works for you. At first we didn't have that much money. It was all guerrilla marketing. It was door hangers. It was lawn signs. It was parking the truck. Like we would just park the truck somewhere, and as like a billboard, and we would it was like ask for forgiveness is easier than permission. So we would park anywhere. We got towed a ton of times too.
Dang. Okay.
And but you figure out where you can park. And I mean, I remember there were a few times when I was we were really sad. We had no jobs on the schedule. So there was one day in particular, like first or second year, like in the summer, July 4th, there's always little city celebrations, at the park parades. Yeah. Oh yeah, we would get in parades all the time. But I figured out that this town and this town had their little like July 4th celebrations going on. So I'd jump in the junk truck, which had a big sign on the side, and I would literally drive around like all day, like trying to get like impressions on our brand,
Yeah.
And there were times when I was probably playing like sad music too. I'm like driving around thinking, I hope everyone sees this and calls the number. But you do whatever. You do whatever you
Yeah.
gotta do. Like we would, our franchisor start at one point. So they were based in Vancouver, British Columbia, and the Canucks were their hockey team, right? So their color was blue or whatever. So one day, they bought blue afro wigs, and they would like stand outside of the game, and they would give out wigs, and that became this thing. They used to call it Blue Wig Spirit. It became a When You Got Junk thing. So we would do blue wig waves, or we would park on a busy corner, and we would hold a lawn sign, put on a blue afro wig, and wave at traffic. Like we were doing that before all the sign spinners were doing it.
Yeah.
But and it was kind of, and you could tell if you had the right team member, if the guy was willing to do that. If the guy's like, screw that, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, this guy, in during the whole thing, we talk about grit, we talk about risk and all this serious stuff. You gotta have fun along
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
I would tell the guys, we haul junk. Like, we don't have to take ourselves that seriously. We are junk haulers.
Yeah.
Like you gotta make it fun. And some jobs were really fun. Some jobs were terrible.
Yeah.
We were on Hoarders 6 times on the
Oh.
TV show Hoarders.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I'm on 3 episodes. You can go. I mean, I'm just kind of walk by, and one time they interview me, but like, some jobs were rough.
Okay. What season is that on Hoarders?
Oh, I have it on my phone. I'll have to
Okay.
send it
Yeah,
to
yeah,
you.
yeah. We'll post a link in the description so we can go back and watch Brian
Yeah.
on Junk Hoarders. That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah, we did one job in Idaho. I think the rest were in Utah. But yeah, it was intense.
Yeah. One of the things I want to highlight with what you're saying, I'm completely blown away that your business did not fail. And I mean that in a good way, because there's so many stories you're telling to where I see people starting, and like, for example, you didn't have any clients one day. And so what most people do is they sit on their phone, they sit at home, they go, well, I guess I don't have to work today. And their business is failing. It's literally failing right in front of them because they don't have any clients on the schedule. And you went out and you just drove the truck around, you parked the truck, you hung flyers on the door, you knocked on doors. I mean, there's so many ways you can go out and get the name out there, right? And the other thing too is your mindset. Most people would go, I'm paying good money for this franchise to get my name out there. They need to be doing this so I can be successful.
Right.
Okay, cool. But you also, as the business owner, need to go out there in your local area, knock on the doors, do the flyers. All of that stuff is genius, right? And then the fun part of it, put it on the blue wigs and dancing around with a sign and doing all that stuff. Like, how many times have each of us stopped at a car wash that says free car wash? And those people dancing at the quack quack or whatever it's called, right? And they're going in there. And it's just awesome how many ways there is to market, and to market for free.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You don't have to pay millions of dollars for ads. You don't have to pay a bunch of money to be on a billboard. Just go and knock the neighborhood, hang flyers, do a sign, post a truck. Oh, that's such good advice. And there's really, the only reason your business is failing right now is because you are not trying hard enough to get more clients.
Well, and that's why I said earlier, man. It depends on the person. Like,
Yeah.
the success
Gotta
of
be a
the
go-getter.
business. Like we would compare, like the franchise system would compare different cities, and numbers, and it was, and you'd be like, oh, Utah's hard. Everyone's frugal here. People do it themselves. Like people call their guy at church to come help them. California's way better. East Coast way better. They make way more money than us. The buck stops at you. Like
Yeah.
it's totally up to you. Like anything that I got from the franchise system, to me, it was gravy. I had the total focus and responsibility to make it work myself. I wasn't like waiting for someone else to do it. And I mean, on days that, one thing to think about too is on days that we didn't have any jobs on the schedule, you're basically unemployed that day.
Yeah.
So it's like you until there's jobs on schedule every day, as an entrepreneur, you don't have an income.
Yeah.
you know,
And
so-
your employees are employed. So how long are they going to stay with you if they're employed multiple days in a row, right?
Right.
And so as a business owner, you're not just thinking about that, but then your business is going to collapse very quickly if you don't go out there and get some jobs for them, right? Because they're relying on you to pay them.
Totally.
Yeah. If someone was going to go out and start a junk business themselves, not as a franchise, but just, hey, I want to start a junk business, right? What do they need to go and haul junk from people?
Oh man, I would say get some steel-toed boots with steel shanks because
Yeah.
you're gonna step on a lot of nails.
Yeah.
Have a truck, some kind of thing to haul it with. I mean, it could be a pickup truck with plywood walls, which is, I mean, not ideal. That's gonna limit you. But if you can get a small dump truck, like our trucks would hold 15 cubic yards, about 2 to 4,000 pounds they could hold.
Yeah.
They were not meant for like dirt and rock. I mean, you could do dirt and rocks and bedload material that we called, but you could only go a foot or two high, like because the truck couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
You could do a trailer. If you can afford a dumping trailer, it'd be better because it's a lot easier to take stuff to the dump.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, gosh, print out some business cards, build a website,
Yeah.
and go for it.
Do you think this would work for somebody who literally hardly has no cash at all? I'm thinking of an idea to where you could almost start this with zero money. You're knocking on people's doors and you're like, hey, do you have junk in your garage? And they say yes, okay? And you don't have anything to haul the junk away with. So what you do is you call up people that have dumpsters already. You have them park that dumpster for a day, which would be $150 to $300, depending on who you're calling, right? And then you charge the people that you're hauling the junk away into that dumpster, right? You're doing all the manual labor. They're just getting their junk removed. You charge them, let's say, $500, right? Let's say it costs $200 to rent the dumpster for a day. You get an extra $300, and then that's how you can build your business. So many people think that they need to start with the dump truck or they need to start with all the tools and like, oh man, I don't have $40,000. How am I going to do this? Right? There's sometimes you have to start small, making $200 here, $300 here, $150 here. And then once you've saved up for 6 months or so, buy a pickup truck.
Sure.
And then put the plywood on the side. Then now you can do it where you don't have to have the dump truck come in, right? And then after you have made some money over the next 6 months with your truck, then buy the dump truck, right? But surely but slowly, if you don't have any money, there's still a way to start this business. Would you agree?
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, I think I would say a couple of things. Do your research, find out what people are charging to haul junk, and then figure out where you would fit in. Like how do we compare? How does the service compare? Maybe we're going to undercut them or be a little cheaper, whatever. But don't short sell yourself either. Like I think people discount way too much. Like the value's there.
Yeah.
You got to believe in the value of what you're doing. I mean, the other thing I was thinking while you're talking is there's all sorts of websites where we can even post for free, like Thumbtack. There used to be Service Magic. I don't remember what it's called now, but Angie's List. You can have a Yelp ad. You can have a KSL.
Indeed has it now too.
Yeah, I mean, you can get your name out for very little money. Some of these listings, and it's another way to get and you can put a brand on there, and you can look very professional.
Yeah.
Online, and then you want to be professional, of course, but you don't, like you said, you don't have to have a fleet of dump trucks to start, for sure.
Very cool. What were some of the biggest challenges you ran into on a day-to-day basis running a junk business?
Every day was different.
Yeah.
Every day was different. I mean, we had some jobs were really, really tough. I could tell you some crazy stories of like junk that we hauled, like disgusting to like cool stuff we found. And I mean, we picked up one time, I still have it. We picked up a Joe Johnston print. He's the guy that did all the 1977 hand drawings of all the Star Wars
Oh, very cool.
vehicles and starships. So I have a hand-drawn, original, numbered and signed print of a X-wing and a Y-wing,
Wow.
and it's worth like $1,500 on eBay. Like
So you just picked those up?
someone
threw it away?
Yeah, we were like, holy cow, I mean, it needed new matting and a new frame, but it was like, and a lot of times people would throw stuff away, like, a elderly relative would pass away and they have to deal with the estate. They would have an estate sale. They'd have us come, hey, take everything that's left. Like, it's a lot of work to go through junk and find the treasures.
Yeah.
We were willing to do that. A lot of people don't have time to do that, but we had a 19th century silver ore mining cart that this little old lady had it. Like, she was up in Sugar House or something, but it was in the middle of her backyard. There was a concrete pad, and it was right there in the middle of the yard. And her husband passed away. He was a railroad enthusiast, and she's like, I just want that thing gone. My grandkids run into it all the time, and I want it gone. It was like a planter full of dirt with plants.
Uh-huh.
And we get there, we're like, how are we gonna haul this away? Like, this is so freaking heavy,
Yeah.
So we shovel out all the dirt and we put it on a dolly, and we're like, Anyway, we were living in this basement apartment. We're like, we don't have a place to put it when this job happened. So I put it like on the driveway. I'm like, hey, I'll get rid of it soon. I took a picture of it, put it on eBay, and it sold for like, I want to say it sold for like $500.
Wow.
And this guy drove from California, picked it up, and hauled it back.
Wow.
I mean, really fun stories, crazy stories. But what was the original question? I can't remember. I could tell stories forever.
Yeah, I got another one leading up to that though. What's the most disgusting place you've ever cleaned out?
Yeah. So we did a lot of foreclosure cleanouts, and when people get foreclosed, a lot of times they're not very happy.
Yeah, they just throw both fingers out and they just trash
the place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was the middle of winter. Someone left the water running upstairs on purpose.
Oh.
Food thrown out. Like, there were like frozen turkeys thrown on the ground. And this one was actually really creepy because there was no electricity, so it's kind of like twilight, kind of dark, and we're inspecting it, doing like an estimate, and like, this frozen turkey is like gnawed on, like something was eating it, and we're like, oh my gosh, like what is over? And these cats were like eating the food that they left behind. It was terrible, really scary. But yeah, those were pretty bad. We had one job where it was at an assisted living center, and an old man actually passed away on a couch.
Oh.
And no one found him for a few days.
Oh.
And that was pretty bad. I mean, we got there just for the couch, and yeah, there was some jobs that were really tough. The hoarder jobs were the worst though, because no people think it's just like stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them have pets.
Yeah.
And cats and mice and
poop.
Oh yeah.
Everywhere.
So what we would do is we would put Vicks Vapor Rub in our nostrils, and then put a mask on.
Yes.
Just to survive.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you find a way.
Yeah.
Like, I remember that couch I mentioned earlier. Like, my guys were like, man, do we have to do this job? It's so bad. And I was like, listen, I'll pay you $50 a piece extra if you're willing to do it. Like, all right, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Because we lost money on that job. We really didn't make any money because of that. But it was like a way to like help the customer out. Like, we were there. We're not going to walk away without doing it.
Yeah. Man, you have a ton of stories. That's awesome.
And I think that's one thing. Like, when you're an entrepreneur, like, you gotta have passion in this thing. You gotta be passionate about it. I mean, maybe it's not like we were talking earlier. Maybe it's not like what you dreamed about doing when you were a kid.
Yeah.
But you have to be passionate about what you're doing, and our spouses are patient, and like, sometimes we'll start talking about business. We could talk for hours. About what happened this day, what happened with this employee, with that customer. Like, it's because it's what we do every day, and we're passionate about it.
Yeah, 100%. And one of the things I want to add to that is, don't just think your passion has to do with something that you like to do all the time. For example, if you like going to the gym, that could be your passion, but that doesn't mean open a business as a gym, right? Or if you like to golf, right? That doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a golf instructor and that's your business, right? It sounds to me like Brian's passion is helping other people succeed and trying to figure out challenges, right? And so that's why he's such a great entrepreneur, because the junk business provided those two things for you to figure out all the time. And so you could help people clean out their stuff. It looked better when you were gone, and you had challenges every single day that you just had to think on the fly of how to figure out how to fix, right?
Yeah, you nailed it on the head, Matt. Like, I think for me, and I think most entrepreneurs, the problem-solving aspect being able to use creativity, that is huge. Like that to me, it's a game.
Yeah.
You're like, how could I make this business as efficient as possible, as profitable as possible, highest customer marks as possible, happiest employees possible, like that. That's fun.
Yeah.
Like that is like when it gets to the point where it's fun, you're gonna win.
Yeah.
Like,
With this being your first business that you started, what was the one thing that absolutely surprised you about business in general?
oh, um, um, you know, I would say working with some customers was challenging.
Mm.
You know, there were some customers that were awesome and they loved you and really fun to work with. Some were not very nice. Some people are looking to get something for nothing and really challenging people. Some employees were challenging too.
Yeah.
But I think for me with my business, growing was the challenge. Like,
Growing.
yeah, and I think and growing as fast as I wanted it to grow. I think it took a lot of patience, and took a lot of effort. The customer and employee thing, I think that's going to be everywhere. Like
Yeah.
that, you're always going to have that. But you have to, and I think what helped me with that challenge was, you get to the point where you realize, okay, this is the cost of doing business. This is part of the business. Like, you're not going to have perfect employees. You're not going to have perfect customers. You're going to have people that you have to deal with, but that's part of it. So if you get to the point where you're okay dealing, and you realize, okay, this is normal. This is not, I think it's easier pill to swallow, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is it's part of the business. Accidents, for example, damages to your vehicles.
Yeah.
You hate it. I mean, you'd rather it never happen ever.
Yeah.
But when I got to the point where I'm like, you know what, it's going to happen from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
These are young people driving these vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing the best they can. They're not professional drivers when they start. So as long as you can manage that and still be profitable,
Yeah.
I mean, you want to minimize as much as possible. It's the cost of doing business.
Yeah, 100%. What's one business decision that you have made that you wish you could redo?
Yeah. There were times when I think it was kind of like a mind shift with my employees, my team. There were times when I tried to fit a square peg in a round hole. Like, the person was a good person, but was not the right fit.
Mm.
And you want to work with them, and you want to coach them and mentor them, and I would find the right people faster. Find the people that fit your culture and fit your team faster.
Yeah.
One guy told me, "Hey man, sometimes you gotta decide if you're gonna fish or cut bait. And sometimes there are people that are gonna hurt your business, not because they're bad people. It's just not the right fit.
Yeah.
And I would move faster to in a kind way, move them out, so you can bring in the right people."
Yeah. Very smart. What's one, if someone those who are thinking about going from their W-2 to owning their first business, what piece of advice would you give them?
So in our case, we totally bootstrapped it, obviously. And one thing I didn't mention too is when I started the business, my previous job that I had, I told my boss, I'm like, "Hey, I'm going to start my own business." He came to me saying, "Oh man, we don't want to lose you. Can you still work for us?" So this was before UPS.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did when I first launched, and this also helped provide some cash for us, I kept my full-time job, I want to say for about 9 months.
Mm.
As I launched the business.
Wow.
I had one full-time employee, one part-time employee to start,
Okay.
and me.
Yeah.
And back then, we didn't have smartphones back then. I actually got, I don't know if I'm going to date myself, but we had T-Mobile had this precursor to a smartphone. It was what was it called? It was I don't know. It was this weird screen that flipped open like this, and it had a little keyboard, and I figured out how to do POP3 email on it. So I would work on the junk truck.
Yeah.
I would do my job.
Mm.
You know, I'd take phone calls. I would respond to emails, and in
On this
between
little
jobs.
phone. Okay.
Oh yeah, this weird little smartphone, precursor to smartphone.
Yeah.
But you know, don't be afraid to like, you know, if you're not ready to just plunge in head first, test the waters. You know, do it, try it a couple times. You know, don't quit your job yet if you're not ready to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would say don't let that hold you back though. You know, don't the lack of capital to launch. Yeah, try it, get started. You know,
Yeah.
and as you see it, you can test the concept of what you want to do. You know, if you see there's customers that love your service, love your product, then invest a little more, give it a little more time.
Yep.
Talk to your boss. Maybe they'll let you cut your hours a little bit. You
Yep.
know, but you don't have to like stop your income on day one and then okay, this is all or nothing. I mean, you can be careful. You know,
Yeah.
bootstrap it.
And that's the advice that I would give people too when they ask me that question is there's so many gurus on YouTube and social media that go burn the boats, just completely quit your job and go head first into your new business. And that's how people fail, right? Because when you're if that creates a lot of anxiety for you, that creates a lot of problems at home or you don't have money coming in, on top of the stress and the anxiety that the business is creating, now you don't have a job and you don't have any money coming in. And so you're making decisions that probably aren't the best decisions because they're coming out of a place of fear, right? And so if you can keep your job, right, and you can start the business part-time just to kind of test the waters like you said, I think that's the best way that you can do it. And then once you have a proven concept and once money is coming in and once you prove to yourself, hey, I think I can do this, then quit the job, dive headfirst into this, make sure you have a little bit of a safety fund to fall back on, and then take the business and roll with it. But yeah, that's the best advice ever. What's the hardest sacrifice that you've had to make as an entrepreneur to be where you are at today?
Well, I mean, it's kind of obvious, but you're gonna have to spend a lot of time on it. So I would say probably not only time with the family maybe at times, although there's some business now you can do with your family, do from home, but probably a little bit of time at home. But in my case, probably my own my own health. You know,
Okay.
like I was so busy and so focused that I was not going to the gym, not eating right. You know,
Yeah.
like I don't know if that was a sacrifice, but I mean, it was a conscious choice. It was like, hey, I can't make it, you know.
No.
And I think you got to be careful with that because if you're not doing well, your business is not going to thrive.
Right.
You have to you have to take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, probably that. Although, it's a constant thing. You're always working on making yourself healthier and better. You
Yeah.
know?
I remember when I started one of my first businesses, I would stress eat. And it was one of those things where I naturally am high anxiety, worry wart type of person, right? And the best cure for that is a big old juicy hamburger. You know what I mean? And so you would just get home from a day of your business, and the only thing you want to do is just slam your face full of food, and it's great. And you go to bed and you wake up, do it all over again, and yeah. So health is very important. It's one of those things where we can lose sight of our balance in life. And that's another question that I have for you. Do you believe when you're first starting a business, work-life balance is important?
Yeah. You know, the example's been used of like those plate spinners, right? That put a plate on the thing and they're spinning plates, and, you know, in the circus or whatever. And there's, who knows, 10 plates spinning, and you know, you get one going, then you got to run to the other one, then you run to the other. Sometimes you just do the best you can.
Yeah.
You know? And it's, you have this goal in mind, you have this end result in mind. You're not gonna work 4 hours a day and become. I mean, it can happen, of course, but you're gonna have to put in the work.
Yeah.
You know, I think you want to have balance as much as you can. You want to spend time with your family as much as you can, and you find ways. I mean, like I remember 4th of July's where we would leave our schedule open so people would book jobs on holidays because we were like, hey, we'll take a job at any time. We'll do jobs at 10 p.m. at night, 7 a.m. Anytime anyone wants to book, we're available.
Yeah.
And it took, and it, we had 4th of July. My first full-time employee was my brother-in-law, my wife's little brother, and he's awesome, and he was sacrificed with me, and we would miss all the festivities. We show up late at night to the family barbecue. We're covered in like soot, we were hauling like roof shingles, we're just literally
Yeah.
covered in soot,
Mhm.
sweaty, summer, hot,
Yeah.
and we're like exhausted, but like, hey, we got there at 7 p.m. whatever, and we had a few hours with the family. So you give up some,
Yeah.
but you do the best you can. I think everybody's trying the best they can. So I think it would be nice if people would support your local entrepreneur. The guy is really hustling and trying.
Yeah, 100%. I think one of the things that our brain does is, at least I've experienced this, and when you start missing the family picnic or the family barbecue, your brain creates this imagination and thought of like, I'm missing the most amazing thing in the world, when in all reality it's not that great, right? And I'm not saying your barbecues or your picnics weren't great or anything like that. Spending time with your family is important, but there's some times where like I get home at 6-7 o'clock at night and I still have to lift, right? And I think to myself, this is the exercise that I do, and I think to myself, I go, what would I be doing right now if I weren't lifting? I would be sitting on the couch watching TV because my wife's gone with the kids at dance. I'm home alone. So what else productive could I be doing besides lifting and taking care of my health right now, right? And so our brain does this thing to where it thinks of that this sitting on the couch and these things that I'm not doing is the most amazing thing in the world, when in reality, your business and getting that going and everything is amazing, right?
Oh yeah. No, you have to make that choice, right? We have hundreds, if not thousands, of choices we make a day, and you got to make the choice that's going to take you to where you want to be.
Yeah.
And as fun as binge watching a show and eating snacks is, no one becomes successful from doing that.
100%.
I've never met anyone yet that like became wealthy or hit their goals from streaming shows.
Yeah. If you're out there and you're listening, please comment that you are successful by eating snacks and watching TV shows. We'd love to know how, right?
Yeah, sign me up.
Sign us up, right? We're doing it wrong. Yeah. So you don't currently own this business anymore. What was the decision of, hey, I sold this business, right? You made that decision. Why did you choose not to keep it for the long haul?
Yeah. I sold it after 16 years. It was a combination of two things. I had a couple of other guys show interest in buying it. They were like, hey, if you ever want to sell, I would love to buy Salt Lake City, and it was, I was slowly getting a little burned out on the business. It was, I think I felt, you get to a point where you feel like you mastered it, and we had some, it was a couple of challenging things with some employees and customers. I was like, maybe it's time. So I just thought a lot about it, meditated, prayed about it, and felt like, okay, I think it's time. So I reached out to the two interested buyers and got a great offer and went for it, sold it. And
Wow.
it was awesome. I mean, it sold for over $2 million.
Wow.
And at the time, it was the highest valuation of the resale of a 1-800-GOT-JUNK franchise.
Oh,
so
wow.
that made me
Congrats.
feel great.
That's awesome.
I was like, oh, that was a lot of hard work. And it was enough for me to retire.
Yeah.
At 45. I was like, okay, I think I did it. I can retire now. But of course, after a couple of years,
You're
bored. Ready to do something more.
Okay,
So.
I gotcha. Well, that's awesome, Brian. Thank you for sharing your story, how you started your junk business, how you sold it. We appreciate you being so open about everything and sharing your wisdom with it. Everybody, this is My Elevated Mindset Business Edition. If you need help starting your business, or you're not quite sure if the business you're thinking about is right for you, head on over to myelevatedmindset.com to where you can either download a free 7-step checklist on how to generate your first business, or you can click the coaching tab in the top right corner and fill out a Google Doc, and I will be more than happy to help you create a business idea. Or if you already have a business and you're kind of struggling at getting going, we can sit down, kind of look at that and see how I could help you scale your business to be in the green. So, Brian, thank you.
My pleasure.